Good morning, church. It's great to be with you today. For those of you that may not know me, my name is Jen, and I am your communications and events pastor here at Georgianna. And before we get started, I just want to take a moment and thank Pastor Corky for the opportunity for me to be able to start our dive into chapter 4 with you today. So last week, Pastor Corky gave us a great overview of what we can be expecting from Paul in chapter 4. Paul is going to handle some family business, which means it's fixin' to get personal, y'all. So let's start by taking a look at our passage today, which is from Philippians chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. Paul says, "Therefore, my brothers and sisters, you whom I love and long for, my joy and crown, stand firm in the Lord in this way, dear friends. I plead with Euodia, and I plead with Syntyche, to be of the same mind in the Lord. Yes, and I ask you, my true companion, help these women, since they have contended at my side in the cause of the gospel, along with Clement and the rest of my co-workers, whose names are in the book of life." So Paul starts handling family business with some nice words, with loving words. He lets them know that he loves them and he misses them. What a great way to start a message to your family. As he sits in prison, he longs to be with his people, who he calls his joy. The reports Paul has been receiving while he's been in prison of the faithfulness of the church of Philippi, it's bringing him great joy. Their faithfulness is bringing great joy to him. Their faithfulness is shining a light into Paul's dark prison cell and filling him with joy. I also love how Paul refers to the church as his crown. Their faithfulness is not only bringing him joy, but he sees it as a reward, a prize, a crown. Hearing of them living in obedience to Christ is a true victory. Then Paul leaves them with the encouragement to stand firm, a message to continue living in one mindset and obedience to Christ. I feel like the Reader's Digest version of this verse, of verse 1, is love you, miss you, y'all are doing great, keep it up, and stay focused. Then Paul switches gears, and it gets personal. He's received word about a tiff between two ladies in the church. So right after he says stand firm, it's like he's calling these ladies out. I feel like I can hear him saying, "Stand firm in the Lord in this way, Euodia and Syntyche." You know, with a finger. Paul uses a real life example for the Philippians. Two women right in their church, and you know, they all know each other. My goodness, can you imagine if this was you? If you're being called out by your pastor who's sitting in prison and hearing about your little tiff and is telling you to knock it off? Whew. These women have strayed from the Jesus mindset. The first thing Paul does is plead with each of them. Then he shifts gears and he asks his true companion to help them. And then he asks his true companion to help the women along with Clement and the rest of the church. Paul is calling these women on it one-on-one, and then he's involving another, and then he's involving the church. This approach to conflict may sound a little bit familiar, so let me read you a few verses from Matthew chapter 18 of how Jesus expects us to deal with this. Starting in verse 15. "If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault, just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church." Ultimately, we know there are 2 sides to every argument. All of us in the church will not agree wholeheartedly on everything. God made us too different for that. We were each created to be a part of the whole body with different functions and different gifts. However, we were created differently, but for one purpose. The advancement of the kingdom needs us to be different. But Jesus, he's only one-sided. There is one lens we are all to see through, and that's the Jesus lens. Paul is using this real life example to explain that this is going to happen. This is inevitable. We will disagree about the things of this world, but we are all on the same side. We're on Jesus's side, and we will have to help each other remember this. Two of us might be in a tiff, and we might be tunnel visioned. We need others to call us out, to remind us to put on our Jesus lens, to remind us of what is truly important, what really matters. So church, I hope this encourages you this week. I hope if you find yourself in a tiff, that you'll be reminded to put your Jesus lens on. And if you find yourself as a witness to a tiff, I hope that you will plead with those and remind them to put their Jesus lens on. Have a great week, church. Love you.